Yo, welcome everybody to another episode of Weird Growth. This is the podcast where we hear about the strange and often unpredictable journeys that finders found themselves on. Today, this is actually really cool. We have David Cannington from one of Perth's most exciting startups, I would say, in the past few years, co-founder and CMO of Nuheara. Welcome, David. Thank you so much for being here.
Good to be here, Cam. Thanks for inviting me.
Really appreciate it, mate. Nuheara's IQ Buds 2 was named Times Magazine list of the 100 best innovations of 2020. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You've also signed a very exciting deal with hardware giant HP, which I'd love to talk to you a little bit about what you can today. You're kicking goals with fundraising. You're listed on the ASX, but please tell us more about yourself and about Nuheara, and how would you introduce yourself?
Oh, well, little bit about myself. So born in Melbourne, spent most of my adult life outside of Australia, lived in 6 different cities in 3 different countries. Wow. Perth's my 6th. Love Perth. Probably my best, my favourite.
How could you not? Yeah.
How could you not? Exactly. Nuheara, Justin Miller and I founded it about 7 years ago. Justin's a Perth guy. And we're essentially a 7-year overnight success story, I suppose. I mean, we're still battling away and doing what we think is right in the business.
Yep.
But it's a super exciting period for the company, and feel like that all the hard work we put into the business over the last 7 years is starting to come to fruition.
Yeah.
Nothing happens overnight in this business, as you well know. I've sort of come up with the idea that you just have to hang around long enough to be successful. So
just have to stick.
So yeah, no, it's a good period for us.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to digging into all that. Before we get stuck into your story a little bit more, I have a little pop quiz for you. It's just a hypothetical.
Yep.
If you were to start a new business from scratch today, what would it be?
A company that has purpose. I think that having started Nuheara, what I have learned, and I think everyone that works at Nuheara would concur with me on this, is that it's not often you get the opportunity to start a business, grow a business, go to work every day where you can actually help people.
Pretty special.
And so I feel very lucky, and all of our team feels very lucky that we've found ourselves at a place like Nuheara, where we're actually changing people's lives. So my next life, whatever I do after Nuheara, if there is another Nuheara, will be something that has deep purpose.
Yeah. I was watching a video just researching for today, one of the latest ones on the Nuheara YouTube channel. And I mean, just background for listeners, Nuheara is an amazing in-ear device which helps people primarily with audio or like hearing issues, live a more normal life. Yeah. And it's almost like augmented reality for hearing, I suppose.
That's a good way of putting it.
There was a veteran from the Navy who lived his, work life working in noisy engine rooms and had tinnitus. And so that's that constant ringing in your ears.
That's Mark from Texas.
Yeah, what a guy. Such a lovely story, but you could feel the impact it's had on his life and made his life better.
Yeah, well, he's just one of thousands and thousands that we've had that impact on, and we try to capture as many stories as we possibly can. We call them customer spotlight stories. We've got a full-time videographer that actually shoots those, edits them, all done in-house at Nuheara. And that's the value of what we do, is to be able to capture those human stories, and they're all very authentic and real, which I think is their great appeal.
Yeah, and talking about the importance of getting that actual human impact that you make. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just a bit of technology.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, and look, marketing is all about this. You're a marketing guy. Marketing is all about the emotional connection.
Yes.
It's not about the head; it's about the heart.
Yep.
And we feel very strongly about that at Nuheara, and it's actually pretty easy to be from the heart when you've got a product like
when you start with purpose.
Max. Exactly. Yeah.
And that can come through all your messaging.
Totally.
It's just so obvious. It's really cool. I remember some of your early videos as well, probably 3 or 4 years ago, and you would film people's reactions when they first experienced the quality of the sound. These are like musos and stuff, and like just the expression on their face, you could tell it had impact.
Yeah, look, really cool. I mean, you don't often work with a product that actually, when people put it on, they're just blown away by it. The wow factor, as people describe it.
Sure.
Definitely our products have always had a wow factor.
Yep.
And as I said, you need to be able to capture it and be able to tell that story. Fortunately, now we go deeper with our story. It's not just the initial reaction.
Yep.
It's about how we're changing lives. And everyone's got it's like a startup podcast. Everyone's got a different story.
Exactly.
And a different take on the benefits that they derive from our product. So, yeah, that's one of the really super exciting things we're doing right now.
Yeah, fantastic. We'd love to talk a little bit more about that. But I know you lived and worked in Silicon Valley or in the San Francisco Bay Area for quite some time.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear what were you doing there and what brought you back to Australia?
Well, I got to America through matters of the heart.
Oh, really?
Married an American woman. My first marriage. And she was from LA, and I said, I don't want to live in LA, but if we're going to live in America, we'll live in San Francisco. So we ended up in San Francisco in 1990.
Wow.
I worked in the ad business in Sydney and then in San Francisco for McCann Erickson. And then after 12 months in San Francisco, I saw the opportunity to open the US market for an Australian digital marketing company. And so that's what I did.
Wow, cool.
And
so hang on, Australian digital marketing company in the 90s.
My apologies. It wasn't digital marketing. It was digital pre-press.
Okay.
Essentially.
Okay.
Back in the good old days in the 90s, there was technology called Cytex, which was essentially that stage of taking film and turning it into digital so you could actually make printing plates digitally.
Kind of like scanning it in and then changing it into CMYK.
And so this company in Melbourne had, they'd invested in Cytex platforms, and we had a competitive advantage over most of our competitors in the US, and I started selling the product in the US and built quite a business, and it was pretty successful. And so that really started my journey into helping Australian tech companies into the US, and I pretty much spent about 25 years of my 30 years in the US really involved in that, cross-Pacific tech transfer, helping companies break into the US either as a founder, co-founder, advisor, operator, and so I was pretty well known in that space for about 20 years.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
What was it like in that scene in the 90s in San Francisco?
Well, it was I went through two big booms and two big crashes. The .com boom and crash in 2001, and then of course the financial crisis in 2008. So I saw the good, the bad, and the ugly.
I bet.
But, a fascinating time in my life. 30 years in the US, particularly in Silicon Valley, is a pretty exciting time. It's a very different place to here. Very different culture. They go about business in a very different way.
What sort of differences?
Well, for starters, everyone's got a story.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a pitch.
So they know that that's what they've got to have in the back pocket.
Everyone's got their 30-second elevator pitch armed, ready to fire.
Yep.
Very dynamic environment, unbelievable wealth creation mechanism. Really open to new people and new ideas. Very progressive. It's a great place to live. San Francisco is, for all those reasons, and very open and welcoming to new people into the ecosystem.
Yeah.
The great thing about Silicon Valley is you could go to an event every night of the week, or one of 20 or 30 events that are going on every night of the week that have some relation to your business. Whether it's an industry sector or a country relevance. It's just an incredibly dynamic environment.
Yeah, and just the density as well. I suppose the number.
But it's also very welcome. You can come in. Obviously there are traditional ecosystems around Stanford and Berkeley and the VC community there, but it is a very welcoming ecosystem.
Yeah.
And if you're prepared to put the time in and the effort in and do it the right way, you can do very well there. That's what I really liked about it. It's an inherently positive environment and culture there that just drives everyone's enthusiasm. It's a very special place.
Special things come out of there.
Absolutely,
as well. World-changing stuff.
No, unbelievable.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
So, how did the journey for you come from? Helping Australian companies potentially, take their products and services into the US. through to, essentially being a startup founder here in Perth?
Yeah, so I met Justin when I was running an organisation called ANZA Technology Network, which I was the founding CEO of, and that was essentially a network that was set up to connect Australian and US tech executives. And what I quickly turned it into was an organisation that helped early-stage Australian tech companies break into the US through an organised and structured program of mentoring and training in Australia and bring them over to the US to have a conference in Silicon Valley that specifically focused on Australian tech.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool.
So it was pretty cool. It was that I started it in 2001. Justin came through one of those programs with a previous company that he had founded.
Yep.
We met. We got on really well. I thought he was a pretty unique Australian founder. Anyway, he went on to start a company called Sensia, which is also a Perth company.
Okay.
Another hearing tech company. And then not long after he started that, he called me up and said, David, we want to get into the US. We want to go global as quickly as possible. Can you help me? And I consulted with him for about 6 months, and then I became the first US employee. And then he moved to Silicon Valley, and we grew it globally out of an office in Silicon Valley. So that's where we met. We built the business for about 5 years, learnt that we trusted each other and enjoyed working together. Always had this idea for taking the idea of that technology, and then instead of selling it B2B, selling it B2C. And so, but the technology wasn't quite there yet. So after we left that company, 2 years later, we felt the time was right, and we started Nuheara, essentially. Yeah. Yep.
Well,
so that's
how it all began. That was the relationship with you guys.
The idea for Nuheara really came from the experience we had when we saw customers put that sort of technology that enabled them to enhance their hearing. In a corporate not a corporate environment, in a industrial environment, in a high noise environment. We saw how it could actually have a big impact on people's lives. And just believed that there was a consumer opportunity in that space, which was realised with Nuheara. Yeah.
What is that big problem that you're solving, that Nuheara solves for the customers? We talk about starting with a problem. So what was that problem that you identified?
Oh, look, the problem is very easy to recognise but very difficult to solve, and that is that 1 in 6 people have some degree of hearing loss. 80% of them fit into the mild to the moderate category.
1 in 6.
1 in 6. 1 in 6 Australian. 1 in 6 people in the world have got some degree of hearing loss.
I reckon I'm one.
Yeah, I mean a lot of people do, particularly when you get a little older. I mean, hearing loss kicks in mid-30s.
Yep, I'm 34.
Progressively gets worse, particularly if you blasted your ears with music or you've worked in a high noise environment. Industrial noise. Damage is pretty common. But anyway, 1 in 6 people, 80% of them fit into the mild to moderate category. Up until now, they've pretty much been underserviced. No one's really cared about that particular segment.
Why would they go get a hearing aid or anything?
That 20% who've got more severe hearing loss, yes, absolutely, they go and see an audiologist and get a hearing aid. But there's a massive market out there where they've got a problem. They haven't had a solution up until we essentially pioneered this category of augmented hearing, and it's a big problem, and we've set out to solve it. Yeah,
very exciting.
Yep.
Can we have a little look at?
Sure.
I noticed you got a little device there on your desk. Yeah. So just opening up a little black case, a little bit bigger than the iPod's one. It's black.
Yep. This is actually, believe it or not, I brought one of the HP products.
Yeah, there's HP logo.
I was meant to bring the Nuheara one, but that's cool. I mean, that's fine. People have seen the HP product, so that's fine.
Yeah. So what are we looking at?
Well, it's 2 truly wireless earbuds in a charging case.
Yep.
And essentially the buds fit into your.
So these are like little flat ones that look quite similar to the Jabra.
These look similar to the Max product.
Okay. Yep.
Fit into your ears like that.
So they're really sleek in the ear.
Yeah, we try to streamline them as much as possible, and they're essentially an augmented hearing device.
Okay, and so you've got them in your ears now. What are you hearing or not hearing?
Because I've got it in environment on.
Yep.
I can hear you more clearly. You're more elevated.
Yep.
But there's lots of different settings that you can. Essentially, you can do 3 things with the product. One, you can personalise how you hear. So what we do is we put you through a clinically certified hearing assessment,
right,
through the app.
Oh, cool.
Once you've
So is that giving you like tones or things like that to listen to and say you can?
It's a tonal hearing assessment. 6 frequencies in each ear. Once you finish that, we create your own hearing profile, and then we automatically calibrate the buds to your own personal hearing profile using calibration algorithms that we license from National Acoustics Lab out of Sydney, who are renowned globally for developing those calibration algorithms that audiologists use for high-end hearing aids. So when we were the first hearable product to license that sort of technology and put it into an affordable hearing bud like that. So you can first personalize it, then you can customize it in different environments. So there's 7 different preset environments that we create in the app, but you can change them based on volume of the sound. You can change them based on speech to noise ratio. You can change them based on EQ, and then you can change them based on directional focus. So you get a lot of personal customization with the technology.
Yeah, everyone's hearing problems are obviously a little bit different.
Everyone hears differently.
Yep.
Everyone's got different shaped ears.
Yep.
Left to right. It's a very personal challenge.
Yep.
But I mean, it's you've got to be focused on the customer as much as you possibly can. And we really do focus on that mild to moderate category. So you've got personalization, customization, and you've got all the lovely benefits that you'd have from a high-end headset. So you've got active noise cancellation, great sound fidelity, connect to Siri, Google Assist, obviously make phone calls. Yep. So you're doing all that sort of stuff in 2 little earbuds in your ears, plus all the hearing personalization, customization. There's a lot of tech in this product.
Very high tech.
Really difficult to make.
Yeah.
A lot of people have failed doing what we've successfully done.
Yeah.
A lot of people have taken a lot longer to commercialize products like this. The big guys from the Apples to the Amazons to the Googles have spent a lot more time trying to get products like this to market. We've got 15 years of experience in it, so we'd like to think that we're a little smarter than most at doing this sort of stuff.
You must be.
Yeah.
And, there's that saying, hardware is hard.
Yeah.
And, it does scare a lot of people, very clever people, away from how do you start a business like this from scratch? And you obviously identified this very important problem.
Yeah. Look, hardware is hard
to be solved. Yeah.
Hardware is hard. People think this sort of stuff's easy. When we first started the company, we did a Indiegogo campaign, so we raised about $1 million Aussie when we did that. But over the course of 3 or 4 years, there was probably 40 different hearable startups that tried to fundraise through crowdfunding campaigns. Some of them were successful at raising money. Most of them were not successful at bringing a product to market, and most of them weren't successful at building a business. Because it's really hard. It's really, really difficult.
So was that Indiegogo campaign where you found your first customers? Is that how you launched the concept?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Why did you go down that path?
We thought it's actually a really good question. I think at the time we believed that it was a great platform to launch a new product.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it still is to a large degree.
Using leveraging someone else's sort of reach and
absolutely
community to get in.
I mean, the thing about crowdfunding campaigns, Kickstarter and Indiegogo, who are the 2 biggest, right? If you get that right, it's like a snowball rolling down the hill. It's like, and you realize whether you've gotten it right literally within 10 minutes of launching your campaign. I mean, really. I mean, when we launched the campaign, I'd get notification from Indiegogo every time someone placed an order, and my phone just went off.
There's the dopamine hits, right?
It was incredible. It was pretty exciting, and we knew we were onto something within a couple of hours of launching the campaign. Wow. We obviously, I could talk to you for 3 hours about crowdfunding campaigns, but the bottom line is, if you can make it successful in those first 24 hours, Indiegogo or Kickstarter see that you're potentially high value customer who's going to be very successful. The more you sell, the more money they make. So they start to leverage their network. And so therefore you can be very successful on the backs of their network and their database. And that's really essentially what happened for us.
So it's far more than just that initial sales traction with the customers on Indiegogo. It's all the message that sends the market beyond that success, is it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we, believe it or not, we did it in a very strange way. We actually listed on the ASX before we did a crowdfunding campaign.
Okay.
And our share price went through the roof once we were successful with our crowdfunding campaign. That, obviously it's calmed down a lot since those days. But what it says to the market and what it says to the consumer is there's a need that you're fulfilling.
Yep.
You've got a product that people want, but that's 1/10 of the challenge. The next 90% is making sure you can build it, and then making sure you can build a company successfully around that product. And have some longevity to what you're doing. And fortunately for us, we were able to do that.
I'm so glad you have. So who's your perfect customer today, and how are you reaching them?
So something like 98% of our revenue comes from our online stores. We've got 7 Shopify sites around the world. 65% of our customers are in the US.
So it's all direct to consumer, ordering online and then getting it shipped direct to them. Wow.
Yeah. So we know who our customers are. We know how to talk to them. We know how to bring them through the purchasing funnel. We're very good at converting them. We've got a model that's working for us and is scaling very well.
And what sort of channels are you using?
Mainly Facebook and Google.
Yeah, okay.
Digital marketing, I mean, we're starting to do some programmatic as well. We'd actually been testing some press in Perth to see whether that works for us. But it's primarily digital. But it's we're essentially a direct-to-consumer company now. I mean, we do have relationships with the channel, with the major retailers in the US, but we've really found, and also audiologists around the world, but we've really found that our expertise is digital. I mean, we don't need to be selling our product in stores if we don't have to, because we can do a very good job of building customer loyalty and converting customers all online with quality content and rich media, et cetera. So, it's been a lot of learning for us over the last 5 years, but I think we've now got to a point where the model's working for us, and it's just a matter of putting more fuel in the.
Did you have to try a lot of different things before you settled on that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's all about. We're still trying. I mean, it's
digital
marketing is all about the ability to try, test, learn, and get better at it. And that's the beauty of it.
That's the magic of digital. You actually get that feedback about what's working and how do you improve.
And just the transparency of understanding where you're spending your dollars and what kind of return on an ad spend you're getting, and understanding your customers, in real time. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
I love it.
It was back in the 1920s. The Macy's founder, his famous saying was like, I know 50% of my advertising's working. I just don't know which 50%.
No, that's right. And
now there's no excuses.
And I'm an old school ad guy, right? I remember working at McCann Erickson in the mid '80s. Doing spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on TV campaigns and not really knowing whether they were successful or not. Now you can spend that sort of money, if not a shitload more, and understand where you're getting your return. It's
with
fantastic,
certainty, and then you can turn the dial up.
Yep.
You might not know the detail, but how do you target someone on Facebook? How do you know if they've got hearing loss, or how do you know if they're going to be the ideal customer?
We've worked out our avatars.
Yeah, okay.
So we've got about half a dozen different avatars that we target.
It's like a customer persona.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So and it's not just hearing loss. We also help people that have got auditory processing disorder. And autism. People who've got tinnitus. So it's not just your middle-aged guy that's got mild to moderate hearing loss. There's lots of different avatars that we understand who our customer. We understand these different avatars in a way that we have to talk to them differently. And at different times and through different channels.
This is a really good lesson for startup founders out there, I think, is having that individual in mind who you are helping to solve their problem and what message they uniquely need to hear in order to change their behaviour.
I mean, you can't be all things to all people.
Of course not.
A beautiful thing about digital marketing is you can be really specific with your messaging. Not just to the different avatars, but at different stages of their purchasing journey. Right. So, there's some real science around that, which we've done a lot of work on and perfecting as we go. But digital is really been. It's really where our future is.
And it sounds like it's allowed you to step over the middleman and, going to retail or, other channels. You can actually go direct to your customer.
The beauty of what we learned actually is because we know we can sell online, we've actually been able to go back to the traditional retailers who we've been engaged with for years and years, and they've said, well, you've got to be in a store. Well, we're going back to them saying, actually, we don't need to be in a store. We can be online. We can help you with our online expertise. and you'll take a much lower margin.
Yes, there you go. That's
so it's really helped us frame our relationships with these big retailers. Of course, COVID's had a big impact on how they negotiate with vendors like us. I mean, they had all the power, all the control up until COVID, and COVID has now, sort of swung the pendulum back into, vendors like us who understand digital, understand go-to-market from an online and e-commerce perspective.
Yep.
And so they respect our expertise and our history. And so it's more of a shared partnership now with these major retailers. And we're in a space, the hearing space, where very few retailers have worked out how to sell a hearing product.
Yep.
I mean, we've been part of that journey with some of the Best Buys of this world. We've been with them for 5 years, partnering with them for 5 years. And we've learned a lot of lessons. And, to be honest with you, they haven't quite worked out how to sell a hearing product.
No, how can they've got a million SKUs. How can they be as close to the customer
totally.
as you can?
And very few people come into a store like Best Buy or JB Hi-Fi and go, I want a hearing product. They don't.
No.
So there's a real challenge for these retailers to understand how to sell our category. Having said that, there's a store here in Perth,
Wanderlust,
who have worked it out.
Yeah,
we only started our partnership with the Wanderlust only a couple of months ago.
Yeah, so I just opened up here in the High Street Mall, and the guys sold next door here in Camera Electronic.
Exactly. Yeah. I should drop in and say hello to him while I'm here. But they've really worked it out, and there's a number of reasons. One, they sell cool, cutting-edge electronic products.
Yep.
2, their salespeople are really well trained.
Yep.
3, they've been great partners from a marketing perspective. Nice. 4, they're really committed to the brand, and so all those factors have contributed to a really successful partnership. Probably one of our most successful partnerships globally is here in Perth, believe it or not.
Right. Yeah.
But, as I said, we ultimately, our future does not lie with retailers. It actually lies with our own ability to find customers and sell to those customers and build relationships with those customers.
Yeah, such a good lesson for tech startup founders today. And also, I hope it gives hope to innovators, who are building hardware especially, that they don't have to rely on retail or other, channels in order to grow. They can,
I think
do it themselves.
I think the lesson for companies here is try and build as much control as you possibly can. You got to control the relationship with your customers, And if your only option is to go through someone else, that's probably not a great model. Because
Apple's done that really well, haven't they?
Yeah, you can build great relationship with customers. I mean, you don't have to rely. My recommendation is, if you can sell directly to your customers and build a direct relationship, do it.
Yep.
Yep.
What could possibly be next for the future for Nuheara?
Look, very exciting time for the business. Yeah. Our direct-to-consumer business is growing. Our relationship with HP is just starting to get off the ground after, many, many months of great product development in partnership with them. Our product development roadmap's super exciting. We're totally committed to the hearing space. We think we've got a competitive advantage in the hearing space because we're coming at it from a company that doesn't have to go out and sell $5,000 hearing aids, but actually can go out and sell $500 hearing buds,
right, and
build a customer base from there rather than coming down. We can go up. So that's super exciting. There's a lot of things happening from a regulatory perspective. The OTC Hearing Aid Act in the US will open up opportunities for us. What's happening in the UK with the government programs there. Look, hearing I hate to say it, is a growth industry. It's a shame it's a growth industry, but it is. Yes. There's going to be more and more people that have got hearing loss. The World Health Organization said there's something like 1.5 billion people and growing, 2.5 billion in the next 20 years. So there's a huge opportunity for us, and we're super excited about what we can do to help people.
Can you just describe the process a little bit behind how do you deal with a giant like HP? How do you even start?
That's actually a really good question, and made even more challenging because of COVID.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, we have not met one of our contacts at HP in person.
You're kidding.
Yeah. So we've done a deal with a large multinational like HP, great people, scattered right across the world, but it's all been done from our office in Perth.
Incredible.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
The things
Do you think
that
it would have happened outside of COVID? Would have been
yeah, probably. I mean, COVID set the framework for the opportunity because more and more people working at home and they need to be able to collaborate with the PC and a product like IQ Buds.
Yeah, I imagine headsets in general would have gone up in sales.
Oh, absolutely. Computers, headsets.
There's a shortage of laptops at the moment.
Yeah, totally. And so collaboration is very important to HP, and we're an enabler of that collaboration with the PC. So it made a lot of sense. But fundamentally, would it have happened without COVID? Probably would have involved a lot of time in airplanes and traveling the world and people coming to Perth and us going to Malaysia and Taiwan and the US. But what we've learnt in this new age is you don't have to travel that way anymore. I think that people are really going to question, do I need to get on a plane and fly 24 hours to go and have a meeting? Certainly we're questioning that at Nuheara. But it can be done now. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Yep.
And how did it feel when that all came off?
Well, I've learnt over the years, Cam, where you don't get overly excited about what you think will be a game changer for your company, because it's every step of the way is a challenge. Even though you get super excited about the opportunities always represent big challenges for the business, and so you sort of
leveled up, but you're like, okay, I'm on to the next thing.
Yeah, you kind of learn to be measured in your excitement. You just got to stay focused on execution.
Yep. Yeah. What's one big piece of advice you'd have to founders who are looking to grow?
Looking to grow, stay focused on your customer. Number one. Learn as much as you possibly can about your customer and why they buy your products. Try and be as efficient as you possibly can with your capital.
Right.
It's one of the things that we've been very good at over the years. And, if you don't mind, I'll tell a quick little story about how we've been able to validate that. When we started the business, probably about 6 months after we started the business here in Perth and I was in San Francisco, hot new company in Silicon Valley got started with about 100 million raise, had beautiful offices south of Market in San Francisco, 100 people ex-Apple and Google, et cetera, et cetera. They were basically our major competitor.
Wow. That's
and they took a lot of oxygen from the industry. They were brilliant at marketing and PR. They had a lot of money to spend. So it was very frustrating for me being the chief marketing officer and co-founder of Nuheara, sitting in San Francisco watching these guys, really get some good traction from a marketing and messaging perspective. But anyway, they raised 100 million. 3 years later, they were out of business, and we were still around, probably more advanced than they were, and we'd probably spent probably 25% of what they've spent.
Goodness.
So the lesson there is, number one, how were we able to do it?
Yep.
Well, firstly, we were based in Perth.
Yep.
Two, we were very efficient with our capital burn. We hired great people here. We paid them really well by Perth standards, but by Silicon Valley standards, it was probably 50% of what we'd have to pay someone.
Yeah, struggle to pay the rent on a
Yeah, I mean we've always paid our people really well here in Perth. But compared to Silicon Valley, it's a whole different ball game. Loyalty, we were able to maintain loyalty from our employees because, we're a hot company in Perth doing amazing things on the global stage, and Google and, Apple aren't coming to steal them.
Yeah,
so,
and you have purpose.
We had purpose, that's important. The other thing too is, 42 cents in the dollar we spend in research and development. We're an innovative company that spends a lot of our money on research and development. We were able to get back from the Australian government through their program, which I'm super supportive of.
Yeah.
So you take, great people, paid well, but affordable by Silicon Valley standards, 42 cents in the dollar back from the Australian government in research and development, tremendous loyalty from your team, exchange rate benefit if you're selling in the US. You add all those things up, and we were able to be a lot more efficient,
very competitive,
than our biggest nemesis in San Francisco, who had everything to gain, but made some really bad decisions with their capital, and also from what they made lots of bad decisions. But the bottom line is, Perth is actually not a bad place to start a tech company for those reasons that I just described.
Amen.
If you can find the right people, the right talent here, and we haven't struggled to really find really good people. There's people out there, and so there's a lesson in that. The lesson is Perth is actually an interesting place to start a tech company, and you can be competitive on a global stage.
Yep.
Because of what Perth stands for and how you can build a business here.
No, a wonderful lifestyle here as well, and innovative, people, very talented people, come out of the universities here.
Great university ecosystem here. Absolutely. I mean, we were partners with Kurt in the early days, and I try and tell that story as much as I can in Perth because it's all very well to go and say, well, Perth's a great place to start a tech company, but we actually had a side-by-side comparison in the real world. 100 million here, 20 million there, and we were able to, hang around long enough to keep surviving.
And you were saying earlier, we're not actually very good at telling these stories here in Western Australia, and there are so many that kind of fly under the radar. And I think it's so important that we do share it because it hopefully inspires others to give it a crack themselves.
Yeah, totally.
If they've gone away and been successful overseas, to come back here and start continue the snowball.
Yeah, look, I think we're seeing actually a lot of really good people wanting to come to Perth now. There's been a real change in the whole thinking around coming back to Australia by really talented expats. We get contacted all the time by really talented expats wanting to come back to Perth for good reason. And so we're actually in a really unique position where we can find really good people and actually be appealing to them as a company to come and work for in Australia.
It's great to hear. It's
super
exciting.
Good. Yeah.
I'm on the board of Startup WA, and this is the reason that we exist, to make sure that these.
Well, that story that I just told you is a story that I would love to tell as much as I possibly and have done while I've been in Australia, in Western Australia.
Yeah, mate, I'll keep looking out for opportunities. I'll get you along and wheel out the story. It's so good. Thank you.
Yep. No.
Getting towards the end, one of the last things that we'd love to do is we just have a little show and tell time. Yeah. So is there a tool, a device, a system, a process that you use in your life that you couldn't do without, that you wish more people knew about?
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously our product.
Yeah. And we'll put links to that.
But seriously, it is a real honour to be passionate about the product that you're selling.
Yeah.
And I am, a huge advocate because I use it myself. I mean, I've got a little bit of high frequency hearing loss. Mm-hmm. Probably my best use case, my best use case is actually traveling, which we haven't done for a while. Yeah. I mean, seriously, when you go
on the plane?
As soon as you get into the airport.
Right.
I mean, all the sensory and auditory overload that you confront when you're traveling adds to stress, adds to fatigue, everything. I mean, it's not a very pleasant experience. When you put the IQ buds in your ears, you basically take control of your soundscape, of your audio environment, and it actually makes the whole traveling experience way more enjoyable and less stressful. That's the first. Now, my current use case, which I love using, my wife loves it as well. After dinner every night, I sit on the couch and watch my American political news, which she absolutely despises and almost divorced me on November 3rd last year.
I'm a political junkie as well.
And so I go and listen to my American news programs. Awesome. At 7 o'clock. She says, put the buds in, and I put the buds in because we've got a product called IQ Stream TV that allows you to Bluetooth to the buds and actually have your own audio connection into the TV. It's sort of like your own personal surround sound.
Fantastic.
Super cool.
And the TV on mute.
The TV can be at any level, but you control your own level. So
sounds perfect for my granddad.
Yeah, well, it's perfect for anyone actually. Yeah. Anyone that sort of struggles to hear the audio from the TV. Yep. It's a really good solution. So that's I use it almost every day. In that respect. So I am a big advocate of our own product because I use it in a really advantageous way.
Thanks, mate. Well, the next thing on my list here was final plug of product. So I don't need to ask you to do that.
No, I probably just
But what is the ask? If someone's out there interested in finding out more.
Look, I think that, if you've got a little bit of hearing loss, or you just want to take more control of your audio environment, our product is perfect for that. I mean, it's simple to get up to speed with. We've got tens of thousands of people around the world using the product. Just go to nuheara.com, Nuheara.com. and you can buy it from our online store here in Australia. Yeah.
Mate, it's a wonderful story, and it's so exciting to have something like Nuheara come out of Perth, global success, making a difference in people's lives, making their lives better. Really appreciate you coming on Weird Growth and sharing your story.
Cam, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thanks, David.
Yeah.
Well, look, thanks very much for listening to Weird Growth. Hope you enjoyed the story. If you enjoyed it, please do rate us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Leave a review and let us know what you think. But until then, thanks for listening. Bye-bye.